So here's the thing with the First Crusade. None of the European kings entered the First Crusade, so the forces were all kind of split and unorganized. So there was all these factions of knights where you'd have like these high upper crust, like knightly caste, like Lannister type guys who were like vying for there was like 5 or 6 guys who thought that they should have been like crowned the like, reigning supreme over the entire First Crusade.
Yeah.
But there was no real process for it other than like enough people thinking you were sick and like declaring the fact that you were.
So we're talking Raymond of Toulouse.
Yep.
Toulouse.
Yep.
Adhemar of Lepé.
Bohemond.
Godfrey of Bouillon.
Yes, dude.
Baldwin of Boulogne.
Yep.
Hugh of Vermande. Stephen of Blois.
Stephen rules, dude.
Stephen of Blois.
That was Robert's brother-in-law, Stephen.
Robert of Flanders. Robert Cortez.
Dude, so here's
Pete the Hermit.
Here's the here's another thing too people don't realize is a lot of people say these guys were opportunistic, like they were just going there just for their own themselves.
To loot.
Here's the thing, dude.
For booty.
So yeah, there was dudes who were seeking military glory and had their sights set on basically like setting up like new towns and cities. They would be kings, but they could never be a king really, but they could be the king of like some other place. But there was other guys too. They have like records of people selling like all of their property. They had like knight type dudes who would sell their entire family fortune to go over there.
Yeah.
So it wasn't just people like.
Yeah, there are dudes that bought in.
There was a lot of them that do it, and there was also the fact that like if you didn't go, you looked like a fucking pussy. So like if everyone else went, if you were like all knights and it was like, why aren't we going? It's
when
like,
everyone goes, how do you not just take everyone's shit?
Yeah,
like, all right, my army's gonna stay. Now we're gonna take everything.
But then it would be like, dude, you'd be a crime against your own countrymen.
Yeah.
And like it's like the whole honor thing. They'd be like, so you coward, backstabber. So they would get back and like they would burn your whole family alive.
Oh yeah, there's always the threat of that.
Yeah, while they were out avenging.
That was a good deterrent.
Yeah, dude. While they were out avenging God.
Yeah.
You stole all of their shit, and then you're getting tarred and feathered. Your family's getting raped and killed.
Damn it.
Yeah. So here's the main characters according to this book. The main characters of the First Crusade with a little something about them. Count Raymond of Toulouse. He was a 50-year-old war veteran from southern France who had experienced fighting the Moors in the southern front. He was also rumored to have his eye ripped out by his face by a Muslim on the border of a holy city on pilgrimage.
Well, that'll fucking piss you off.
Yep, and he said he kept it all the way back as a reminder to show people being like, fuck those guys. So he was pissed off. So he had his never forget. Bohemond of Taranto, he was a 40-year-old Italian Norman, and he grew up while his father, Robert the Wily, was conquering Italy. So I don't really know who the Norman are, but whatever. I just imagine them as like the whiter Italians.
I think so.
Gardine, you might be a Norman. So this guy, Bohemond, he was basically just grew up in an ongoing military conquest. And it says I think his dad was doing, he was fighting the Greeks, and he was fighting the Greeks in oh no.
I'll tell you what, this is why I was always confused, because Norman, you would think Normandy in France. Which is northern France. The Normans were a population arising in the medieval Duchy of Normandy from the intermingling between Norse Viking settlers and indigenous West Franks and Gallo-Romans. The term is also used to denote emigrants from the duchy who conquered other territories such as England and Sicily. So he was just from Sicily.
Okay.
But Normandy's borders the channel between England and...
Is that what it is?
So like D-Day.
So this guy might have been a Viking. He might have been just a regular.
Could have been a Wop or a Viking.
Yeah.
That's kind of...
Got you.
But if you said he was a Italian Norman, he was Sicilian.
That's probably what it was. So he grew up while his dad was just like devastating parts of Italy. Came of age. He like just was doing, that was like his work, going to work with his dad.
Yeah.
Grows up and then he fights the Greeks in a 4-year Balkan campaign. He was rumored to be tall as fuck and jacked. And they were like, he knows a lot about, everyone was like, yeah, this dude's like legit. But he also, for some reason, didn't have any money, which is weird. So he was like seeking riches. He had like military experience, but he just like didn't have any dough. And he was joined by his cousin Tancred of Hauteville, Duke of Lower Lorraine.
I like it.
So Tancred was his boy, and Tancred apparently was these two dudes had their eyes on the prize politically.
Yeah.
These guys were like, we want to take different other stuff, or take like territory. Then there was Godfrey of Bouillon, Dude, beast. Enemy of the Pope. It was in hot water. He ruined church property. Yeah.
What are you doing?
I don't know. He had beef with the Pope. The Pope was not well liked at this point.
Pope was a bitch, dude.
He was rubbing up against like the elites, and they were like, "Dude, fuck off." And that's why they think the Pope this was like basically a power play.
Yeah. This is from Alexios in Constantinople.
What do you mean?
Constantinople.
Oh, Alexios is that what it was from?
Alexios. The reason, quick research.
Yeah.
That is important. The reason the Pope was doing that is because the Byzantine Empire was fighting with the Muslims. So the Byzantine Empire, which is like modern day Turkey, ish.
They reached out.
The fucking Constantinople was, the Muslims were over there.
Yeah.
They were doing battle with them, and they're like, Christian brothers, we need help. Send some people. And the Pope was like, Muslims are pieces of shit. And
that was part of it. They go and they have to help him.
Yeah.
And that was a big beef because they wanted to go take the holy cities, and a lot of the Crusades was just them helping like strategic cities of Constantinople. Dang, dude.
Yeah.
Dang.
Because it's the Eastern Roman Empire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he had his whole sight set on retaking all this. That's the whole first Crusade was them taking back cities for the for the bros to the east. So Godfrey, he was also jacked and tall, and apparently the area he lorded over was like notoriously unruly. And so like it just sucked. Like he got a bad land to take care of, and it was just like you're a constant threat of being being cooed.
Yeah.
So he was kind of like, people assume he wanted to crusade so he could get a new fiefdom in the east. He was kind of like, this kind of sucks, I want to get out of here.
Yeah.
So his brother Baldwin of Bouillon was also a power hungry bro. So he went with him. So that was the southern faction of France. And then there was the northern Frenchman. There was Robert, Duke of Normandy. His brother was the King of England. And then he was joined by Stephen, his brother-in-law.
It's not Lionheart right now, is it? Who's the King of England?
No, Lionheart I think was Second Crusade. I forget the name of the guy, the King of England. It was like, I don't remember. But then his cousin Robert II, Count of Flanders, came too.
Richard was.
Yeah, he wasn't yet.
He was 100 years later.
Yeah, that was the second one, right?
Yeah.
Apparently the Lionheart was the fucking man.
Richard Lionheart, dude. How sick is that name?
Dude. So
I'm sorry I'm cutting you off.
No, please. I actually like the whatchamacallits. The different researches. It actually helps. So a full year passes, dude. A full year passes, and then all these dudes, like the 7 knights and all their forces.
I'm sorry to cut you off again.
Go ahead.
I'm looking at Richard Lionheart's Wikipedia, and it says early life, blah, blah, blah. Next thing is king and crusader. So I clicked it. First thing, coronation and anti-Jewish violence. Hold the fort.
No, not again.
God damn it.
Lionheart?
Yeah. They think he was Richard Lionheart was gay. He said, "I'll be behind the couch."
What?
Richard the First was officially invested as Duke of Normandy on July 20th, 1189, and crowned king in Westminster Abbey on September 3rd, 1189. Tradition barred all Jews and women from the event. Some Jewish leaders arrived to present gifts for the new king. According to Ralph of Dicetto, Richard's courtiers stripped and flogged the Jews and then flung them out of court.
Dude,
God damn it, dude.
There's just something. There's nothing funny about denying access to Jews or denying access to women, but when you pair them together, it's very funny for some reason.
Yeah.
It's like no Jews or women. It's like,
why?
Why the
fuck? Then a rumor spread that Richard had ordered all the Jews to be killed.
Oh no!
You know how that rumor kicks up?
Yeah.
And the people of London attacked the Jewish population.
Jeez, man. I think it's like something you got to do. I think it's like, they hit like a ship with a bottle before it goes off.
Yeah.
If you go to fight Muslims, you have to like just rough some Jews up and then run over to the Muslims. It's a warm up. You're like, all right.
It's a tradition.
Yeah, that's crazy, dude. That's fucking nuts.
Yeah. What the fuck?
That's so fucking bizarre. But there's no like. They never mention it. They're like, oh yeah, and then like right during that time, they like just fucked the Jews up, and then they went and did the Crusades too.
Yeah.
But also, it's probably just part of that. Like, yeah, you're fucking kind of like those guys. What the fuck they doing? Tell us.
Once the Pope starts like,
yeah,
you're either Christian or we kill you. Yeah, that's what we got to go over there and do. They're like, hey,
true.
You know these guys with the land that live next to us?
Yeah.
We can go take all their stuff.
Yeah, they're probably kind of crushing on the Jews for. Yeah, it's the green light.
But I also think the Jews weren't doing great.
No, back then I thought
European Jews, I think, were not doing that great back then.
Well, there's that whole thing of like I don't know when in medieval times they said they were like barred from doing certain jobs and they only let them do money stuff. So they'd be like, you guys can loan money and be like the money changers.
Yeah.
And then they were saying like these like dukes and lords would be like, if they wanted to gain favor, they could be like, you know who's fucking you guys over? The Jews. And they'd be like, they're loaning you all this money, but the Christians weren't allowed. By their thing, they weren't allowed to loan money, so they just it's like when they outsourced torture. They'd be like, all right, Jews, you guys do the money stuff, and then they would be like, yo, these Jews are fucking you guys.
God damn, hold the fort and then again.
This is what it was. When they would end up owing their money lenders, who were the Jews, money, they'd be like, or I'll just turn my whole population against you guys and never pay you back. So,
all right, I'm sorry.
No,
sorry to cut you off.
That's actually...
I was just trying to look up Lionheart.
That's riveting stuff, though.
First thing you click on is he flogged a bunch of Jews when he got coronated.
No Jews, no women. That's the thing.
I do like that. Then the rumor started
that he's gay.
That Richard said all Jews should be killed, and the people of London attacked them.
But that was just a rumor.
Yeah,
that people saw the flogging and they took the flogging out of context. Oh my God. So a year after Pope Urban gives a speech, November 1096, the waves of crusaders start flowing through Istanbul, capital of the Byzantine Empire. So they still weren't like in a cohesive force. So they rolled through Constantinople in waves over the course of 6 months.
Yeah.
So it comes into play because the first to arrive was Godfrey, who every time like a wave of crusaders came by, the dude you're talking about, Alexius or whatever,
yeah,
he would get like whoever was in charge of them, he'd take them in and he would just shower them with gifts and be like, yo, you're going to do what I want. You're going to help me out here. You kind of don't have a choice. And he would give him tons of like military, he promised them military reinforcements. And also he was like, I know how the Seljuk Turks operate because I've been fighting them. So he was like, I'll tell you what you need to do, but like I'm going to point to cities and you guys are going to do that.
Yeah.
That was a point of contention the whole time during it because they wanted Jerusalem, bro.
Yeah.
Like we're here. There was dudes who were really there for religious purposes and they would just be kind of like, they'd be like, we're going, dude, we're going. We just got to stop at this one. And they're like,
just stop here.
They would get so mad.
Get me all this stuff.
Also, this was actually made me laugh. The deal was also that any cities captured that used to belong to the Byzantine Empire would be handed back to the empire. So like none of you French, because Alexius thought the French were notoriously, they were spazzes and they were selfish, greedy. He was like, they're selfish, greedy spazzes.
Yeah.
So he was like, I don't want them taking any of this stuff.
Yeah, I mean, they would, if they took a city, they would probably just be like, no, this is French now.
That was another one. That was another thing that was going on. And the thing that really like threw Godfrey for a loop is when he came into the room, Alexius didn't give him any kisses, dude. He just sat there like this in a throne. Usually it was a customary to get up and do kisses. And he was like, Alexius gave no kisses.
He didn't kiss.
Which kind of like threw Godfrey for a loop where he was like, damn, this dude fucking rules.
Oh, he respected him.
He thought it was so regal to be like, he was like looking at like a highborn lord. And just welcome. And their cities were like unlike anything they had over like fucking Paris was nothing compared to Constantinople. It was nothing. Like the walls they had around these cities were just fucking nuts.
Yeah, you got goddamn Seljuks outside throwing rocks.
True,
and shit
they had a reason for them.
Yeah,
I mean, I wonder if they probably had some people. Do you think they had any people back then that were against them? The walls.
They were like, tear down the wall.
Tear down these walls.
Borders are bad. It's like we left the door open one night and 10 people got fucking skinned alive, dude. No, we got to get walls.
So over the course of 6 months, every single knight basically accepted the same terms. They would just get showered in gifts. I'm like, yeah, well, like any city is yours. Like, they'd be like, they also wanted to be under his banner because they were like, this dude rules. They saw his city. They had like tons of like cool relics and shit. And they were like, dude, like that was a big, relics were a huge deal. So they were like, dude, we'll fight under your banner. They wanted him personally to lead them. So that was like a matter of honor.
Sick.
Which he never did. But the Count Raymore of Toulouse.
He wasn't getting up, dude. He wasn't getting up for kisses, and they're like, "We want you to lead us."
He was watching. No, he'd be like,
watch.
I'm not going to be anywhere near, but he was watching.
Yeah,
he comes into play later, but the Count Raymore of Toulouse was the only one who told Alexius to fuck off. This guy was so rich. He was like, "Bro, I don't give a fuck." He's like, "I'll go do the cities you want me to, but I'll let you know what I decide to do." So he was the only one Alexius couldn't flip, and Alexius was like, whatever, I have enough people. So February 1097, the Crusaders arrive on the shores of Asia Minor and plan to attack Nicaea. And this is what happened. This is why the People's Crusade actually was good, because when they all went down there, so the Sultan of the region that the second wave of Crusaders came into was named Khalij Aslan, and he was the one in charge of that area that had to smash all the the poor guys who walked in there. So when he heard another wave of Crusaders was coming, he was just like, whatever, and he left.
He was like, great.
Dude, he wanted to handle personal biz in the East. So he was like, I got to go do a land dispute. If these guys come, just fuck them up.
Just kill them again. He's
like, I'll be back. But him and all of his boys left, so they got to cross the Bosphorus, which I don't even know what that is, but that was an area, I guess, between
That might be Turkey.
Is that what that, yeah, maybe. But they got to set up a beachhead. So that was a big deal. They got to set up a good strategic position, completely uncontested, all because those poor idiots led by Peter the Hermit went and died. So that didn't all count to nothing.
The Bosphorus is where you cross to get from. So Istanbul borders Europe and Asia.
Okay.
And the Bosphorus is the strait that separates it.
Yeah, so they got to go across that completely uncontested and set up a beachhead, which I don't know what a beachhead is either, but I was like,
a beachhead?
Does sound pretty sick. I'm guessing it's some sort of
It's like a landing area.
Oh, okay.
It's you set up kind of like a fort where you can cross.
So they set up
to guess.
Yep.
It's just what I assume.
So they set up the beachhead. Also, Aslan was the one who had captured Nicaea and was using it for his personal capital of, whatever his territory was. So May 6, 1097, Crusaders arrive outside of Nicaea, and the town is protected by 3 miles of 30-foot walls with 100 towers, they say.
Damn.
There's 100 battlements or whatever they call them. And the western edge of the city bordered the Ascanian Lake, which fucked them up because they wanted to set up a total blockade. And they couldn't because no matter what, they had, they had that partial, whatchamacallit. They could get reinforcements with ships, and there was nothing they could do for that. So, hold on, time out. There's a part that says jump to my notes. I think I passed by.
Jump to notes. Jump to notes. We're talking about the siege of Nicaea. Is that what we're doing?
Yeah. But I'm trying to, my pages jumped a couple, because I ran out of time doing it in my computer. All right, here we go. So we crossed the Asia Minor. Cardini, can you pause real quick? Here we go. I got him right now. So Khalij returns to the capital in late spring and just sees the capital. They're talking about Nicaea is surrounded by French forces. That he's like, damn, these guys have horses and weaponry.
Yeah.
He's like, damn, I might have fucked up. So he's coming back. He sees her there. He goes, I'm going to launch a surprise attack. I'm going to launch a surprise attack on these dudes. And he probably would have fucked them up. But the secret plot was foiled because the French forces they just captured a Turkish spy who they tortured and threatened with death. And he spilled the beans about the surprise attack. So they knew that Khalij was coming again. He would have, if he surprised them, they said he would have fucked him up. So Khalij attacks. They know he's coming. And they just overwhelm him with their sheer numbers. Because again, they had 60,000.
He spilled the goddamn beans.
They fucked up. They were ready for him, and they just completely overwhelmed him, ruined the surprise. Khalij has to retreat, and this was a tremendous blow to the morale of his Muslim troops. Because back then, the Muslims were and they were pretty much militarily superior on their strategy was better. They were
especially
better
there,
exactly
especially over there,
exactly for the temps and everything, and that kind of fucked them up because they were like, wait a second, they didn't think they could lose these guys at all because they just slaughtered 15,000 of them. So the Crusaders take the dead Muslim dudes, decapitated hundreds of corpses, put their heads on pikes outside of the walls of Nicaea, and just sat there and just terrorized them. And they were even throwing heads over the wall. They were just being fucking jerks, dude.
They're being fucking
so
dickheads.
Then the Turks then responded by lowering. So they had Christians living within Nicaea, so they started killing their Christian population. You don't really hear about, but they started killing their Christian population.
You don't hear about that too much, but that's all right.
They started lowering down dead Christians on hooks outside of the walls. It's oh yeah, fuck you. And they let these dead Christians rot outside the walls of their city.
Yeah.
So,
and the Crusaders were like, dude, we don't care.
They got pissed.
We don't even know those guys.
No, they would actually. So when they put the heads on the walls,
we're throwing the heads of your friends back.
The Muslims, they would cry and grit their teeth, but then when they would do it to us, we would cry and get upset too. So we would
not let a gnashing of teeth.
Yeah, we would. Both sides would cry and be like, "Oh, come on, what the fuck." So then the Crusaders are going, all right, so they got we can only do
all right, that's fucked up. That's fucked up.
That's
dude.
the line.
Don't do that. Don't lower them down on hooks.
And I think the Muslims technically were punching down at this point.
They were punching down.
Because technologically they're superior. So they were still punching down, which the Christians were like, that's not funny.
That's not funny. We're allowed to do it.
Yeah.
Because it's punching up.
So then the Crusaders are going, all right, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to do two styles of siege warfare simultaneously. We're going to do a blockade of the north, east, and south to slow their food intake. And we're going to launch siege warfare. We're going to scale the ladders, or we're going to scale the walls with ladders, which the ladders failed instantly.
Yeah.
So they got a 3/4 blockade. That's going well. I'm pretty sure the ladders just got pushed down off the walls. And that just didn't work at all. So then they try to build stone.
Ladders are hard now. Like a 10-foot ladder in a house is scary.
I'm shaking
it's
with
like
someone.
Metal.
Yeah, dude.
You have like a wooden 80-foot fucking or 30-foot ladder
that they built.
That a guy on top's just gonna. You're gonna get home alone right off that thing.
Dude, they would set up, chop down trees, and build siege weaponry right outside of your thing, and you'd be like, "What are they doing?" Like they're building siege weaponry.
They're trying to build weapons. It's like,
so you'd watch a bunch of like a construction site for like 4 days, put together a ladder, and then just be like, "Get the fuck off!"
Get the hot tar ready. We gotta dump it on morons trying to crawl over.
They were destroying them with that stuff.
Hot tar would be a real negative experience.
So they started to build some stone throwing machines to break the walls, but like there was like pure North Korea missile launch. It was not going anywhere. So then they started to. This was actually kind of sick. They would get these really light ladders and they would set up like distractions on one part of the thing, so that like people started, and then they put up another ladder real quick and start kind of going over and fucking them up. So that was.
I like that walls worked for a long time,
dude. They were really. I mean, you'd have
walls was just like, all right, we can't beat these guys.
It was over the wall.
We've got a wall,
but if you get a full blockade, you could starve them to death. Yeah, that's what a lot of people. That's like kind of like that was the most. It's pretty much all they try to do the whole time.
Yeah, siege.
So they're doing that. You know, they're trying to like sneak in and do all that. It was like they were kind of making some headway, but not really. And a lot of the times, the dudes who were like launching these like ladder attacks, like you were saying, you were getting. Oh no, that's what they were doing. They started trying to go. So they had the ladders to go up and create a distraction, and then they'd run in and try to like sneak in and kind of disturb parts of the wall by hand. And meanwhile, they were getting their arrows at them, rocks dropped on them, and boiling oil to like just try to like dent the land or dent the whatchamacallit, the walls and fuck them up. And the whole time they would put like these wooden timber shields over them. So that was the thing they were doing. I'm sorry. They would have one guy putting a ladder up to distract, and then they had this big wooden thing they'd kind of like sneak in under and try to like fuck the wall up, and they would just be dropping rocks and boiling oil on you. So the one they built was called the Fox. That was the one that kind of blocked the oil. So like if we have this wooden thing, it'll just kind of like go off a thing. So they 20 dudes were under it, and it collapsed on them and crushed them. So that was the northern guys, and the southern French guys made a sturdier, like big wooden shield, and they actually started a siege mine where that you start to dig underneath the walls. So like, fuck it, we'll go under the walls. If we can't go over, if we can't break the walls, we'll do a siege mine. And what they would do is that you would dig a hole and then light a fire, because you wanted to like find their like underpinnings and burn them out, and then see like if you could get a bunch of earth out from under the walls part of the walls would crumble. So they go in on June 1st, 1097. They set up their siege mine. They burn their wood, and a section of like the wall actually collapsed in the bottom. They got like a little bit of an opening. The Turks fixed it in one day, bro.
Son of a bitch.
No further progress was made.
Damn it.
No further progress was made. So then the Crusaders chilled for 2 weeks, just being like, I don't know, what do you want to do? But dude, Alexius had been sitting there chilling in the Ascian Lake. No one knew he was there. Small Navy fleet there, just waiting. Here's the west of the city. He'd been kind of watching, observing the siege, kind of like, all right, not too bad. He also sent his top eunuch general, Tacitus, who also had his nose sliced off and wore a golden replica. So he had a eunuch with no nose, no dong. who he was like, you go down there and advise the troops and like kind of help these guys. Damn. I'm going to chill up here. And then Alexius. So
he had a complete freak show. He had a they.
Dude, he had a full fucking they.
He had a complete they.
He had an absolute creature, dude.
One of the OG theys.
Yep. He had an
like, sir, what do we do? Actually.
Tacitus. So he sends Tacitus down, but these guys would see him and be like, fuck this dude. He was mythical.
That guy's awesome.
Mythical. So then June 18th, Alexius dispatched a secret flotilla, which is a sick word, of ships to cut Nicaea off. So he completed the blockade. So now they can actually do the
now they're going to start getting hungry.
Yep. So then as the city gets kind of fully constricted, the Franks launched another land attack on the Turks, and the Turks were like, we give up. They put up the ladders again. Uncle. Yeah. So then the emperor, Alexius comes, meets with the French knights, and decides that Antioch is the next target. And he also goes, you guys can keep Tacitus and a small force of Byzantine troops. So Nicaea fell. They took Nicaea in, a few months. And he also kind of like, he sent the Tacitus and his bros nice. And he was like, that's when he started telling them like, dude, this is how you're going to have to cross now like a large strip of desert to go to Constantinople or no, Antioch. He's like, you're going to have to cross like some pretty brutal terrain. Here's how you do it. And like, here's what you do. So that's the start of crossing the Asia Minor. So these guys are all like nice. They're pumped on themselves. So they're still wrestling with a lack of centralized leadership because they're all trying to vie for like who's the top guy, and nobody really got the total glory because none of the Frenchmen were really successful. Southern French were kind of like high on their hog. The northern guys were like, they stink this whole time. Yeah. They don't do anything. So the French guys are kind of like, this is nice, but really it was Alexius who came and turned the tides of the war. So that's kind of the big deal right now. It's like, how can we stay as one unified force? And also crossing Asia Minor, they're trying to figure out, they're like, if we stay in one cohesive force, it'll take us forever to cross. Cause I guess it was a kind of like a narrow, there's parts of the roads that were kind of narrow. So they were like, either we're going to split into a bunch of little forces and move quickly, or stay in one big blob of people, which will take too long. So then they decided like, let's just split north and south, half and half. Yeah. That way we're still pretty strong, but we're a little lighter on the feet and we can move. So Khalij Aslan, so they split up. They're like, all right, let's start walking crossing the Asia Minor. The defeated Khalij amasses an army and he laid in wait for it. Like, he's like, I'm going to fuck these guys up when I see them. Because they retreated back and they kind of like hung back there. So the first guys to come were the Northerners, and they did that Seljuk Turk warfare where they would encircle.
Just ride around. Yep. Shoot bows and arrows.
That's what they did. Dude, so they circled the Crusaders, and the Crusaders have no fucking clue what's going on. So some of them start to break rank and flee. But I guess Bohemond was with them as well. He was from the southern thing. So Bohemond and Robert somehow got all of their forces to hold their ground in the middle of the siege. They were like, dude, stand your ground. And they just just set up like a little makeshift defensive camp. So they're just getting pelted with arrows for hours, getting pelted. And they also, the only thing they did to boost morale, they did a whisper down the lane, and they went, stand together, brothers in Christ. And they all just did they said, stand fast together, trusting in Christ and the victory of the Holy Cross. Today, Sick. May we all gain much booty. That was the thing. That was the thing. They went, may all gain much booty.
And it was like, Baldwin's mom's a slut.
So then they have this like makeshift kind of defensive camp. The Turks break the ranks and just start fucking going through, killing men, women, and children. And then this is when women started offering themselves up to the fucking Turks. Fully being like, this is like highborn noble wives being like, just take me. I'm like a princess. I'm a European. And they were like, come fuck me. Basically being like giving up the pussy. Yeah. They did the honeypot. The bros still held it down despite all of this stuff of like their kids dying, women just being
women immediately being like, well, things are going bad. I should probably fuck the guys who are winning.
Turncoats, yeah.
Disgusting.
Turncoats, dude. So but then the southern force eventually arrives 5 hours into the Turks breaking ranks, and it's just a fucking melee. Southern forces arrive and repel the Turks. You're dealing with 4,000 Christians dead, 3,000 Turks died. And that like makes shit in that little like quick little surprise attack. Khalij gives up at this point. because it was technically a loss for the Turks since they were the ones who had to retreat. So the Christians, after that battle, that was like their last like military thing that like they had to go through. So now they get to pass through Anatolia for a 3-month march. This is the summer of 1097. So after they do that, they get hit with starvation and disease. They actually don't have any water. So 500 people died, along with a bunch of oxen, mules, and horses. And then there's dudes walking around with their mouth open trying to catch the mist. And finally, after, however long it took, they found a river and a bunch more people died from drinking too much water. People and animals pigged out on the water and died. There's another thing too. They went into like extensive detail over how many like oxes and mules and horses died. That was like a huge, they almost seemed more concerned about it than people. Cause they were like, dude, it was like losing your whip, dude. These knights had to start walking. They were like, these boots were not made for walking, dude.
They got all that fucking armor and shit.
Yeah. So that kind of fucked them up. Also, at some point during this journey, Godfrey gets attacked by a bear and lives.
Fucking bear attacked him.
This is just to get to the other place.
Yeah.
Baldwin breaks off and heads, he went east towards Syria, and he wants to he was like, fuck you guys, I'm out. I'm setting up my own lordship. But they would be like, we're also going to, he's like, I'm going to help.
Something funny?
What?
8 million horses died in World War I.
Really?
That seems high.
Yeah. I'd have to see the pictures.
I think they're lying.
I'd have to see I mean, they do say practice skepticism to everything you hear.
When I hear that 8 million horses died, I go, that's a lot of
That's
horses.
the scientist in me. I just go, how many of those guys?
Too many.
And they did what? I need proof. I'm a scientist.
Yeah. Me. I'm sorry.
So this guy, Baldwin, breaks off and he goes, look, I'm going to go check out these other places and set up like my own cities just so I can really help you guys.
Yeah.
So
I'm looking out for you guys.
And he said he was going down to free Armenian Christians from the Turks. So he goes and he starts fucking up like Turkish villages. And the Armenian ruler, his name is Thoros, invites Baldwin to just join with him. And he's like so pumped on Baldwin. He's like, he adopts him as a son. They did this weird like ceremony where they both put on one shirt together. It's like, that's to signify, Baldwin is like, yay! And then months later, the king was suspiciously murdered. And Baldwin just completely took the whole place over.
What the fuck happened to him? Anyway, I'll take over.
He was like, yeah, dude, I'll be your son, and just fucking murdered the guy.
Yeah.
So then he takes control of this like weird kingdom in Armenia, and he was the very first one to start a Latin state of his own in the east. It was named Idea or something. So autumn 1097, the armies of the Crusades regroup in Syria. They're not doing well, and now they have to capture Antioch. So the first one was kind of like, yeah, this is cool. Now they're like genuinely really fucked up.
Yeah, they're on fumes.
They're definitely on fumes.
They're dying.
One of their boys broke off and absolutely came up, which kind of sucks.
Yeah.
Broke off, and he's like now the king of Armenia. Also, that's tough. That's a tough condition. So Antioch was nestled between the Orontes River and the foot of 2 different mountains. I think the Romans had actually built it. So it was a 3-mile wall, 60 feet high with 60 towers. That's fuck. I mean, the first one was 30 feet. This is 60 feet high. So, but the thing is, and this is what kind of gave them the first Crusades, the Turkish leadership was like, it was nothing but brats. It was all spoiled brats, and they were constantly having power struggles between them. So the city of Antioch was being torn apart by a civil war between 2 brothers. And they also, for some reason, only had 500 soldiers in the city, which was enough to man the defenses.
The walls of Antioch are fucking cool looking.
It was the Romans, bro. The Romans fucking fortified it. And it just sat there for, however long. And they only had 500 soldiers inside of the walls. So that wasn't, but it was enough to man the defenses, but it was kind of like, it's not the best if they get in there. So there were 6 gates. The Latins set up another partial blockade because they could only do 3 of the 6 gates of the city, and then did the same thing where they try to launch light skirmishes, and they started doing psyops too. The same shit where they were like trying to catapult dead bodies into the walls. So after the first small skirmish, they were like going up, killing people, getting knocked off the ladders or whatever. They took 100 dead Muslims, piked their heads like usual. And at night, the Muslims snuck out to bury the dead people that were up on like the pikes and take their bodies. And the Crusaders noticed this, dug the bodies up, defiled the corpses, and then the Turks got very sad. And then again, the Muslims do a thing of killing Antioch Christians and hanging them over the walls and like threw their heads over with catapults at the Crusaders. The Crusaders get pissed off. And then it's wintertime. And the bros start freezing, dude. So they don't have any food. Yeah, they don't have any food. And like, I think 1 out of 5 of the Crusaders died this winter of 1098. So now we're in January, dude. People are eating dogs and rats, animal skins and seeds and grains found in manure. And they're trying to figure out why God is punishing them, you know, because they're like, they also had like a religious leader. So now that like 1 in 5 people are dying of starvation, they go to the bishop and they're kind of like, dude, what the fuck? Like, make sense of this. Is bullshit. And I think it's your fault. And the bishop literally goes and prays on it. And he goes, guys, it's the women.
It's not my fault.
He says the women. He literally came to the Crusaders and goes, these women are fucking sinning. So the women have to be, you got to send all your wives back. These guys got to get the fuck out of here. They're fucking it up for everybody. So, you know, and some people, obviously there's dudes start to desert. People are like, this is bullshit. Peter the Hermit tries to run away. And they catch him by Tancred, by the way. Tancred catches Peter the Hermit and he goes, dude, get the fuck back here. They drag his ass back. They didn't let him desert, which kind of bullshit on
Peter Hermit's
PDH.
A bitch.
He's a total fucking pussy. So they lead 2 separate, the 2 Muslim forces attack them as well during the winter, but the Muslims are repelled. So that kind of rolls. Spring 1098, food and resources arrive. I think the British actually sent them. So they send English ships with like weapons and all kinds of materials so they can build proper siege weapons. April 1098, the city is okay. So the city, they cut even more doors off. They cut more gates off to the city. And they also had some more like support come, and eventually, but then so they're like, all right, we're going to go pretty good. Oh no, they had the Shiites rolled up, and the Shiites were like, yo, they just came and like checked them out and were like, we got you if you need us, because that actually worked pretty well.
Yeah.
People say the Franks were barbarians, but they did enough stuff to like send people down, talk to the Shiites, because there was that Sunni Shiite kind of divide. So the Shiites were kind of like, yeah, we'll ride with you guys. Now they're pumped. But then they hear that the Sultan of Baghdad is sending a large force of Antioch, 40,000 Syrian and Mesopotamian troops, which would outnumber the surviving French 2-1. So they catch that news and they literally go, oh, shit.
We got to hurry.
So they set up an emergency council. So Bohema devises a pretty nasty plan, because they're like, now it's like they got to get within the walls of the city or they're going to die. So he tells the council of all the other noblemen, he goes, look, what if one of us devises a plan to actually get into the city and like takes it over, could we just say that it's that person's city?
Keepsies.
Yeah, it was Keepsies. Yeah. He calls Keepsies. He's like, whoever
does it.
I'm not saying it's me, but like, would you guys be cool with that? And they were so desperate. They're like, yeah, dude, for sure. So Bohema goes, well, now that we've made that deal, I actually have a man. He's got a man on the inside of the city, and he goes, he'll let us inside of the city.
He's gonna open the door.
We don't got to. He'll just let us in.
Like, damn, that's a good plan.
It was really nasty, dude.
Yeah, I could have had these doors open the whole time, but
actually, they did have to do a wall, but he was like, I'll have a designated spot we can just get over stealthily, no problem. So a few nights later, this is what a beast Bohema is too, or Bohema. He doesn't go over himself either. So he gets a small force of dudes one night. Because, dude, if they got caught, they're decimated.
Yeah.
He sends a small force. They put a ladder up against an unmanned section of the wall that dude basically told him, like, this is where it's good. And they had his boy, the guy, the inside man, was waiting there to, like, receive him. So a small force goes in, sneaks up on tower guards, is, like, stabbing them, killing them. And then fucking Bohema gets a signal, blasts a bugle, and then sends a bunch of more. He's like, just go. Yeah. Sends a bunch of dudes over the wall, and they're all doing the God wills it scream. Nice. God wills it, and they're going over. And then the Christians living in Antioch, like, saw what was going on. They rose up. So Rising up, dude. They go in, and they literally slaughtered all of them while the sun rose. Slaughtered all the Muslim dudes in there. But there's a citadel on top of the mountain that remained occupied by the ruler of Antioch. So that dude just kind of sat there in like an untouchable fortress at the very top of a mountain for the time being. It was like, fuck. The next day, Kerbogha's 40,000. What time are we at? We're at 1:13. We'll pause. We'll do part two.
No, what happens?
You want to know?
Yeah.
Sick. The next day, Kerbogha's 40,000 troops. That next day, 40,000 bros roll up, and they surround the city. So now they were hoping the Byzantine Empire would come and save them. But there was a deserter from the French army when shit got really bad. There were a lot of people deserting. He ran into Alexius and was like, "Yo, we're fucked. They're all going to die. Don't even waste your time over there." So Alexius abandoned them, and having no idea the fortunes changed like overnight, real quick. So this is June 10th, 1098. Kerbogha, whatever his name is, Kerbogha pours in with all of his forces, and he's doing wave after wave for 4 days as Bohemond resists at the eastern walls. And again, more people are starting to desert, but then Bohemond barricades the gates, and he's like, "You guys, we're killing anyone who tries to leave. Yeah, fuck this." June 14th, Kerbogha circles the camp, and he's really starving them out, and it works really well. So the Crusaders start eating leather straps and like all kinds of weird weeds and shrubs. More people are dying. Morale's at like an all-time fucking low. Yeah. So then that night, a small group of French people led by a peasant visionary, Peter Bartholomew. This is kind of like a Peter the Hermit type. He claimed that a ghost of St. Andrew revealed to him that the spear that pierced Jesus' side was buried in St. Peter's Basilica. So then that day he convinced a bunch of people to go dig in this basilica for hours. And they finally found a small shard of metal that they were like, "This has got to be it. We found it. Like, we got it." So then Raymond of Toulouse, he was the guy he was like the head noble on this mission. So he bent down and kissed it. And this was kind of like his thing now. Cause he was like, "I'm the nobleman. My mystic guy was the one who found it." So his stock starts rising big time. Because
like, I have the thing that stabbed Jesus.
Yeah. So it's really, the story of this is actually, I'll end with the story of this. This is very funny. So the troops get kind of electrified. They're showing this relic they found. They're like, "Okay, we're going to turn this around." The girls left. The bishop was right. This fucking rules. But also they didn't do anything right away. So they wait 2 weeks. Then the French forces are going like, "Dude, we're definitely going to die in here. We need to launch just a suicide mission on Kerbogha and all of his forces. Like, maybe we can kind of fuck him up and then ask for terms." Basically what they did in that World War I movie. He's like, if we just go nuts, maybe he'll be like, all right. Like, honorable surrender. So I think though they first send out terms. Kerbogha goes, "No, like, I'm going to kill you. You guys are dead." So June 28th, the Crusaders are like, "Fuck, man, fuck." It's like, we got to get out of here and we got to do a death march and attack those guys and just go out like men. So Kerbogha's kind of camp. He has a perimeter surrounding the city, starving them. He has all of his forces drawn back, and Kerbogha hears it. Like, they open the gates and they're going mad dog. And he could have sent all of his forces in and crushed them instantaneously, but he hesitated because he goes, "I kind of want them to come all the way out. Yeah. So then I can, like, I don't want them running back to the city and shutting the gates again." He's like, "I want to take them out once and for all." He got impatient. So he's waiting. And it's like they start smashing because they're all charged up with the relic. They start smashing through the lines that were like, I guess, encircling them. Yo, some guy just come outside. So they smash through the ranks that are encircling them. And the Muslim forces start kind of panicking. So they retreat. And then Kerbogha goes, "Fuck it, send all my forces." So the two Muslim forces clash into each other because they're retreating into like an attacking force. They start bumping into each other and they're like, "What the fuck's going on?" Everyone runs away. And Kerbogha just goes, he's so embarrassed that he kind of hesitated and fucked it up that he just fucking flees. They all just left. He was like, "This is bullshit."
Fleeing is great. Be like, "You know what? Fuck this. Fuck, I fucked up, dude. Let's get the fuck out of here. Let's talk what we came here to talk."
My detractors.
It's time to discuss Crusades.
Yes, dude.
Yes. What is it, 1099? Is that what we're talking about here?
That's what we're talking.
That's about as far as I got.
Talking Pope Gregory, bro. We're talking about Pope Gregory.
Get over there.
Planting the seeds. He planted the seeds.
Are we talking about Salahuddin?
Who's the Salahuddin?
Salahuddin.
You're going to have to instruct
Saladin.
Who's the King Saladin? And he's the goat. That was the bro. See, I didn't get into exactly that side of it. So let me paint the picture. This is the picture I got from the beginning of the book. The book's called The Crusades by Thomas Asbridge.
All right, so shut up, Asbridge.
So they're saying this guy's giving like a multiple account of like, here's what's going on in the Muslim world, here's what's going on in the Christian world. Yeah, he calls it the Latin world the whole time. But so apparently the fucking French, man, are apparently at the center of this.
The frogs were over there.
Frogs are big time, bro. Because he said
Guy de Lucien or whatever in there.
Yeah, the one there was was that the guy you're saying?
That was in the movie. Kingdom of Heaven. Yeah, would you get to the Knights Templar?
Not yet. This is they tease you with the Lionheart. They hit you with a little bit of Lionheart, which I'm like, coming. All right, I'm ready for that. But they so they go in, and there's just these dukes. Who dat?
I don't know.
There's these. They're explaining like how there was just these knights who were like they're not like the king, but there's just these disparate bands of just like military royalty.
Yeah.
That just rolled around. What you were saying earlier on basically ponies.
Yeah.
And they were just there. They would just like sit around and
just
like
to
live
reiterate,
off
the horses weren't big.
tiny horses.
They rode ponies.
Ponies, dude, armored ponies.
Yeah.
And like if you were like there would just be these knights kicking around on like land, like with their vassals and shit, and they'd get hired every now and again to just like charge some dude on a pony.
Yeah.
Because that was like if you were trying to fight, a dude would just come run you over with a pony, and then he'd be like, all right, dude, fucking I'll pay the king or whatever what I owe him. And they're like, you better, I'll fucking kill you.
Have you seen Kingdom of Heaven?
No.
Yo, you're gonna love it.
I can't wait.
It's fucking tight.
Do they keep it pony?
Ridley Scott, dude.
Does he keep it fucking?
Nah, he doesn't keep it 100 on his ponies.
Come on, man. Nobody does. Nobody does.
Yeah, you can't do the Braveheart speech on a pony.
Why, dude?
You can't.
Dude, it's such an important detail of the time.
It's very important.
And they were crazy expensive. To have a pony was like unheard of. Like no one else could afford a pony. So you're a knight. You're on your pony and you had 4 servants that could also
the
fight.
Arabs may have had stallions. They may have had.
I think they were on at least in the beginning. I think they're still on. They're on ponies as well. So it's pony on pony attack.
There's nothing you can do.
But so they have these guys in the Christian world. It's just the knights kicking around, doing their thing. And there's this one guy from France who was just he was a Frank. This is like 1000. So I don't think France was barely even started yet. It was just the Franks people. But his name was like Folk or something. I forget the guy's name, but he was a brutal fucking duke and warlord. And he was just fucking people up. And then like towards the end of his life, he was like, he got really into Catholicism or Christianity, Roman Catholic church. So he was like, back then, in order to like make up for your murderous deeds, they would go on these like epic pilgrimages to like Jerusalem. They're saying that's a huge part of how it started.
To kill a Muslim, you enter the kingdom of heaven.
Yeah, dude. Was that
the Pope said?
Pope Urban?
I'm not sure which Pope.
So Pope Urban Pope Gregory started it off as basically you had these like rich elite dudes going into the Holy Land. This guy's like a warlord, and he's like, why the fuck are Muslims in charge of this? This fucking sucks. Yeah. And they were saying they were getting unfairly taxed. Because they said it's unclear who really started the aggression, because the Christian account is like Pope Urban gave this huge speech in France being like, dude, they want to tax you so bad that like they're worried people are swallowing gold. So if they suspect you of smuggling gold by swallowing it, they'll cut you open and open up your insides to fucking look into what nature has kept hidden, dude. So the Christians were coming through like, yo, they're slaughtering Christians. There was one lord who was going over on these pilgrimages who apparently had his eye pulled out. Yeah. They said it was like an apocryphal tale, but he carried his eye back to be like, yo, fuck Muslims, dude. Look what they did to my eye. Yeah. So all these dudes were getting, so they had these like,
he was like, this used to be in my fucking head.
But a fucking Muslim
ripped out my fucking eye.
Because he refused to pay taxes.
Get your swords, dude. We're going back.
They'd be like, we're going on holy. These guys were like never taking shit ever in their life. Yeah. They were just in charge of it, basically everything and everyone they knew. They're like, all right, time for pilgrimage. And they'd go through the towns. I'm like, and they'd be like, what the fuck are you? And they'd pull a sword to them. They'd be like, give me half your shit. And they'd be like, what the fuck? Yeah. So these dudes were just running into buzzsaws. So they'd come back and be like, yo, fuck those guys.
Dude, does it get into the fact that Muhammad never set foot in Jerusalem? Ever?
I thought they said that's where he ascended from.
Yeah, they yap about it. They made that up.
But he never did.
They just were like, no, this is ours. This is where Muhammad came. They're like, dude, Muhammad was never here. They're like, yeah.
Really?
This is ours. Jerusalem's ours. It's like,
so they didn't get into that.
The Dome of the Rock? Look into it.
Really?
Yeah, they fibbed, dude. They said he teleported to Jerusalem and then he ascended. It's like, dude, you guys are lying. You're cheating to get Jerusalem.
But yeah, well, it's also weird too, like, because the more you
and the Jews can shut up about Jerusalem too.
Yeah, what's their claim?
I don't know. The fucking temple was there or something. It's Jesus, dude.
Jesus, yeah, it's JC
Jerusalem's ours.
JC all the way.
It's obviously Catholics.
I would agree
for sure, dude. Jesus the Jews killed him there.
Least they can do is give it up.
The Muslims have no say.
Dude,
other than it is in the Arab world.
Dude,
other than it is on their land.
True.
But
I don't. But dude, they kind of Sprite remixed of religion.
They did,
and I know I was with Christianity.
We already had Coke.
We had Coke.
They were like, no, Coke Zero. We were like, dude, you guys need to shut the fuck up.
Dude, they really did mishmash, and we're just like, oh, and then there was this guy. This whole thing was like he had a reactionary revelation to Christianity and Judaism. Was like, yo, here's the deal, and we got.
I could be completely wrong, but I thought Islam came out of Muhammad being like, I think he was a general. But it was kind of like, because he lived in heavy trade area, and he kind of came up with like codes of how to, like, it was good. It was like a moral way to make sure everything was cool with trading and how to operate and all that shit. I forget.
He went by the way of the sword towards the end.
Yeah, he did.
I heard a similar thing where, like, if you read the beginning of it, it's like, man, this is great. What beautiful verses. And then he apparently really dialed it up of like, yo, by the way.
Well, he was a man.
He was a man. He was a man.
He was a man. That's the thing. They were, you know.
He was just a dude. Then teleported.
He could fall to it.
Then he teleported.
He did teleport and ride up on a chariot or some shit.
Yeah. So that did happen.
We worship a god, dude.
That's what I'm saying.
Jesus was not. I mean, he was a man, of course. Was a man. But he was the Holy Trinity.
There's a heresy stating that Jesus was a man. Obviously, he got kicked out of the Catholic Church. One of the heresies, dude. There's a ton of heresies. One of them was that Jesus was just a dude who got just like taken over by the Spirit of God, and then as soon as he died on the cross, it just went up, and that was that. And Pope was like, "Fucking." There was a bunch of dudes like, "No fucking way, dude. Yeah, bullshit." Get him out of here.
Set him on fire.
Get him the fuck out of here.
Do something bad to him.
Just dressed like maniacs.
Dressed like a moron.
Bull fucking shit, dude. That didn't happen. Get the fuck out of here.
Think of the worst thing ever and do it to him. Get him out of here. Rip his fucking tongue out.
Yeah, they just were like, yeah, exactly. It came up with like a Muslim code. Here's what we're going to do. And then like, yo, and in terms of like, yeah, dude, actually like Abraham was kind of sick. Jesus was kind of sick. That was like, but then it became like, genuinely like a militant.
Yeah.
And this is what they're arguing. Like, so Sandoval left a small force behind in Chalco, whatever the hell it was called, left a small force behind to guard the city of Chalco and headed back to inform the delighted Cortez about his victory. Cortez high fives him and just immediately, he really fucking has Sandoval doing work. That guy never gets to chill. He goes, dude, go back towards Tlaxca and check on the progress of our great ships and, you know, maybe stop off in Zeltepec along the way and fuck them up, since they had killed, you know, earlier on, they had killed 45 Spaniards the year before when a contingent of Navarre's men were dispatched to meet with Cortez, but were ambushed outside of the city of Zeltepec and all brutally killed, all 45 and their horses, no survivors. So Sandoval hits Zeltepec, where he and his forces drive the Aztec out of the town. It was just a piece of cake. There was Aztecs there. Same deal as Chalco. They're there like an Aztec outpost kind of looking over the town. Sandoval and his boys just ride up, beat their fucking ass. And then Sandoval goes to the local chief like, yeah, you motherfuckers are next. And the chief, like trying to be cool, is a really weird move. He's like, no, we're your boys. He goes, dude, check out what these Aztecs did. And he took Sandoval and some of his guys to a temple where the skins of 5 Spanish horses that had been flayed out and preserved sat on the ground along with the faces of a few of Navarre's men. Wow. Beards and all, with their blood clotted all over the walls, or clotted in the beard and smeared all over the walls. Sandoval was just like, why the fuck did you show me this? He's like, dude, as punishment for this shit, what do you think they did? Slaving the villagers. More slaves. So they took more slaves, but they did pardon the chief. They're like, look, if you submit to the Spanish crown and whatever this shit is with people's faces in this place, just don't do this ever again, and I'll leave you guys alone. And they're like, all right, deal.
Did they think they were going to think that was cool?
I think they'd like, yo, check this out. Like, we're giving you the insight. Look what these guys fucking did. And it was probably these guys. They probably did it too. They like warned their bros' faces. And he was just like, what the fuck is wrong? And he's like, that's it. Slaves. I'm taking slaves. I wasn't going to take slaves. I was actually probably going to take slaves. But
now I got a real
now
reason.
I absolutely have to take fucking slaves. Babe auction. Got to do it. Also, being the babe auctioneer must have been so tight. I mean, again, brutal stuff.
Yeah, instead of saying slow, you just slapped him on the ass. Sold.
Yeah, I mean, Lemaire, I can almost guarantee you that happened. Also, no one talks about it, but Sandoval, so he heads back to Tlaxca to see about these boats, and he must have had the most fucked up dreams for like a month after seeing like flayed faces sitting there with the beard still on, was really like, ugh.
Crazy.
So,
they're good at that.
Fall out.
Huh?
But
yeah, I think you pass out. They are pretty good at skinning people's faces off.
The beard doesn't go.
So Sandoval leaves that godforsaken area of Zeltepec, and he doesn't even get to Tlaxca. He sees the wood, just like he said, they call it the wooden serpent. He just saw 20,000 Tlaxcans carrying the boats, dude. You got to ask yourself, who's going to carry these fucking boats, bro? It was the Tlaxcans. It was absolutely the Tlaxcans. So he goes there. He's not even there. And he gets met along the way by the master shipbuilder, Martin Lopez, trailed by his, massive force of Tlaxcans, carrying gigantic fucking beams toward Texcoco. The plan so far, phase 1 had been a success. The boats had been assembled, tested on the water, where they said they were going to put them on like a small lake, dig it out so it was deep enough to float, and then disassembled. And now they're being carried across the mountain by 20,000 fucking guys. And also, it was like Sandoval couldn't even believe what he was seeing. There was 10,000 Tlaxcans carrying the lumber, while another 10,000 warriors guarded them on the perimeter. And he was like, all right, it was like the most important thing possible.
Yeah.
Sandoval mounts his horse and escorted him to Texcoco, where they just were able to move completely unmolested. The caravan of planks, hooks, sails, nails, and all things boats snaked its way up and around the mountains for 4 hard days, the whole party of people being 5 miles long, until it made it to the gates of Texcoco, and the Tlaxcans, proud of the display of their strength and dedication, started blaring conch shells and banging drums, just like announced their own arrival. Mm-hmm. They were just singing songs about like how strong they were and how hardworking they were, and just kind of like,
that's fair.
It's kind of sick. They just they made their own entrance music.
Yeah,
they were like,
nice.
Check us out.
Yeah. They came to the door, Stone Cold's glass breaks.
Yeah. I mean, giving themselves their own entrance music is kind of tight. So with that phase, let's call that phase 2 of just transporting all the wood. Now with that basically impossible feat out of the way, Cortez, after giving Martin Lopez a massive fucking high five, starts on phase 3, which was digging a giant trench that would connect to Lake Texcoco while they rebuilt the ships kind of away from the river's or the lake's edge so they couldn't get attacked. The canal took 2 months to dig. It was 12 feet wide, 12 feet deep, and 1 mile long, worked on by 40,000 Tlaxcans, working in nonstop shifts of 8,000 men at a time. So that's really getting after it. And by now the Aztecs could kind of see what was up to, and they were just sending smoke signals all around. But they again, it was like with the open field surrounding them, there's nothing they could. They knew they could have brought 30,000 guys. There was nothing they could fucking do.
To just be watching your enemy like finish their plan, and you're like, well, we just gotta wait.
Yeah, they're going, and they had known what those ships were because they'd seen them. But I don't know if they really faced them in battle before. They only got to like see them shoot their cannons and shit, but they didn't have any concept of how to like fight those things. So phase 3 is underway. Cortez decides to mount up a force and see about some of the northern cities. He's like, let me go all the way up and kind of submit these guys to the Spanish crown. So completing my chokehold on Tenochtitlan, starting with the city of Azaltocan. And it wasn't a major threat to Cortez, but it would be useful for the naval operation since the city was surrounded by water, just like Tenochtitlan, but just a smaller version of Tenochtitlan. And when Cortez and his squad gets there, he's bummed to see that the bridge had been destroyed and is greeted by a horde of Aztec war canoes full of warriors sporting darts and arrows, or just spewing darts and arrows. And the war canoes also were equipped with they had amped up their games now where they put big wooden shields on their war canoes. But it's not enough to stop a cannonball. So, they just started just blasting these war canoes with cannons, and the warriors started to retreat, and Cortez was about to be like, fuck it. There's no bridge. We can't do anything. He was about to head back himself when a couple of his Indian allies told him that the body of water was nothing more than a shallow canal that actually had been recently dug. And Cortez tells them to go ahead. He's like, all right, we'll prove it then. Walk across it. So the guys do, and the water's only waist deep. So Cortez and all his whole force ford the small stream and continue their attack, driving the Aztecs all the way out of the city and conquering that place. Cortez rides north the next day, and again, all he sees are deserted towns and cities because all the inhabitants of all the local towns had run to Tacuba. That was a massive state. That was the third part of the Triple Alliance. And the Tacuba Causeway was the area, by the way, they had escaped during La Noche Triste. Okay. That was you're in Tenochtitlan, you can escape towards this place. That they escaped towards Tacuba. So again, they had massive beef with the Tacubans because they're like, you motherfuckers are probably throwing rocks and shit at us.
Yeah.
So they were like, all right. So they're scheming on Tacuba, and they're like, we're going to fuck these guys up. They had a major grudge against the city. Cortez and his men ride up on Tacuba, and they see a pretty massive Aztec force, and the Aztecs attack immediately. And after a decent fight, the Aztecs again fled, leaving the city open for Cortez, and the Tlaxcans, again harboring their eternal enmity towards all thing Aztecs, start really fucking the city. Anyone they saw was just, they were dead. They burned the city, took anything they could. So the The next morning, the Aztecs flipped the script and attacked them in the city. So they were in the city of Tacuba, and the Aztecs were like, yeah, check this out. We're going to trap you guys in the city and fuck you guys up again. And so it was basically, they went on for a week like that. Like the Aztecs would come attack them. They would defend the city back and forth, back and forth. Finally, the Aztecs faked a retreat, giving Cortez and his guys room to start evacuating across, I guess they had fixed one of the causeways. And when Cortez and his guys started to cross to get the fuck out of there, the Aztecs came back in a surprise attack, catching them at a disadvantage and killing a few of the Spaniards. But the Spaniards pressed on and finally made it back to the mainland, where they returned to Texcoco, basically fighting skirmishes along the entire way. So get back to Texcoco, and they're like, all right, fuck, we submitted, we got to Cuba, like we're taking out the Triple Alliance. But they're like, around this time, the ships are still being, or the canal's still being built, and the ships are being rebuilt, or the canal's being dug, and the ships are being rebuilt, and things are going swell. But now Cortez hears of a conspiracy against him involving up to 300 soldiers who are still loyal to Narvaez and Velasquez, led by some guy named Antonio de Villafana.
Oh, Antonio's going to get the
dude. Antonio Villafana had a nice plan. His plan was to draft a fake letter from the king to hand to Cortez, and while Cortez and all of his officers were gathered in a tent to read it, the mutinous gang would fall upon him in the tent and stab them all to death, and then take command and then free Narvaez and flee back to Cuba. That was a master plan. And
that was a good plan.
It was a decent plan. However, Cortez and his closest officers just stormed Villafana's quarters, and he immediately just cops to it. It's like, yeah, my bad, dude. I was totally going to fuck you guys up. I'm so sorry. And he actually gave up the list. He had a list he wrote down a list of all 300 names of the guys who were like,
oh, he was ready to snitch.
I know.
He was so ready.
Back then, you'd have to get guys to sign documents. You could show other guys, look how many people want to do this. So he had the list on him, and it was actually pretty smart. Cortez pockets the list, but then I don't know if this is Cortez's idea. I think it's one of his advisors. They spread the rumor that Villafana ate the list before anyone could get it, so that the people who were against him thought they were safe and had no idea. Yeah. Cortez, they don't talk about it anymore, but Cortez basically arranged a personal bodyguard for himself 24/7, and then slept in a coat of armor from then on out. Yeah. And Villafana was hanged outside of his room for everyone to see, and all the other traders, unbeknownst to themselves, had eyes on him. So they had people kind of keeping an eye on them, and I think the thing just died out after they hung that guy. So as the boats near completion, Cortez sends Sandoval southbound now. They went north, and now they're heading southbound to finish the campaign of conquering all the territory around Tenochtitlan, completing his chokehold on the area. So Sandoval heads south, pretty much slashing his way through all these places and villages, comes up on this place called Yexopixtla, which was difficult to take given its strong elevated position. Sandoval from the bottom is like, you guys better fucking surrender or face the consequences. And what do these guys do? They throw a bunch of rocks at him.
They love throwing rocks.
Dude, and that'll piss you off.
Yeah.
And you're at the bottom of the hill.
Yeah, true. They shoot an arrow, shoot a dart.
So Sandoval goes, all right, you know what, dude? He tells his guys, he goes, I am going to conquer this place or die trying, because fuck these guys. So he fights his way up the hill, catches a rock to the head. Dude, they were rolling boulders down at them, just really fucking them up. Finally, Sandoval and his guys make it to the top of this village, and unfortunately, they throw a bunch of the villagers off the cliffs. They're like, yeah, you guys want to fucking throw rocks? They throw them off the cliffs, and then
they probably saw one of their boys get crushed by a boulder.
That's what I'm saying. It was kind. They were hot. They were kind of heated, so you get it. And then guys would try to climb down, and they would fall. So it was they took that place just because they're like, fuck this. So Cortez questions all the prisoners taken from this place when Sandoval brings them back. And all of them say the same exact thing. They said Cuauhtémoc, he'll die before he surrenders. So all this peace talk, it's like, shut the fuck up. It's on.
Yeah.
There's nothing you can do. You got to fight us to the death. So Cortez is like, all right, fuck, I'll ride south now and see if I can conquer any of these little places. So Cortez now hits a place called Xochimilco, known as the Field of Flowers. And this was a town where Tenochtitlan got a lot of their veggies from. Because the plan of the, encircling Tenochtitlan was to disrupt the food supply. That was a big plan. Sean's face. Sean looks like he's in school right now. No, dude, you're totally fine. This is very information dense. I'm sorry. So Xochimilco was called the Field of Flowers, and they grew the majority of the Aztec veggies. So and apparently the Aztecs relied on 50% of their food from outside sources. So Cortez was like, if they heard there were food providers, they're like, we got to take these guys out. So Cortez was like, all right, let's fuck this place up, disrupt the food supply. But cautious not to be trapped, he just starts kind of like, firing at the force of Aztecs who've been sent to guard Xochimilco, and they slowly scatter, letting Cortez and his men enter the town across another one of these big fucking bridges. But it was a fucking trap because Cortez and his men get into the town, the chief surrenders, and right as that happens, a whole bunch of Aztec war canoes paddle up to surround the city's entrance. Cortez riding at the front with his horse El Romo. I didn't know his horse was named El Romo at the time.
That's cool.
Dude, he leads the force to attack the Aztecs. They fight for an hour until his horse breaks down and he's carried away by a gang of warriors who are like hot to sacrifice him. Oh. Which again, they could have fucking killed. They could have killed Cortez. They could have killed him right here. And like again, if Cortez died, the whole thing was over. Yeah. Could have killed Cortez, but they're like, oh man, we can't wait to fucking drip this guy's blood on the altar. And again, a massive blunder by the Aztecs. Luckily, Cristobal de Olea, along with the Tlaxcan soldiers, slashed through the Aztecs and free their commander.
Yeah, let's go.
Massive blunder. They're too busy. They're too focused on wearing his face and jerking off his dead body to win the fucking war. Cortez hops on El Romo, and the Spaniards fight through the throngs of Aztecs, lucky to escape with their lives, though they were still trapped in the city because all the causeways had again been removed. So Cortez is like, son of a bitch with these fucking bridges. Next morning, Cortez wakes up, the sunrise, climbs to the top of the temple to see kind of like what's up. And he's just like, holy shit, there's literally 10,000 Aztecs clogging all the surrounding rivers heading this way to encircle the whole city and just, fucking kill us. Cortez runs down the steps, tells everyone to get the fuck out of there now. Luckily, the night before, he had told the Tlaxicans to fill the fallen bridges. It's like, just start throwing fucking stones in there and just give us a little kind of a runway here. And they were able to accomplish it because they got the fuck out of it. I think they also had burned a lot of the city the night before, so they did destroy the place. Yeah. But they saw those Aztecs coming and they were like, fuck this. And they fucking just bounce out of there. So the Cortez and his company head back to Texcoco. Mission accomplished. Now, as Tenochtitlan had been pretty much completely encircled, the surrounding towns either destroyed or loyal to Cortez. And upon getting back to camp, Cortez was met with another little bit of good news. Another wave of reinforcements had been sent, and the ships were also completed.
Oh, heck yeah.
Yeah, pretty big stuff. That
was reinforcements from Spain?
Yeah, they got and Hispaniola. So it was like someone directly from Spain, someone from Hispaniola. So now we're in April 1521. Cortez has, again, completed the encirclement. Every major city-state around Lake Texcoco was either conquered, allied, or destroyed. The 13 brigantines, as big warships, were fully assembled in Texcoco, fitted with cannons or sails. The 1 mile canal had been dug and was ready to go. So at this point, too, he's got, they say 900. I think they had 1,200 Spaniards before, but they're saying he had about 900 Spaniards, 100 plus horses. This is huge. 13 ships, and also 80 to 120,000 indigenous allies, Tlaxcans, Texcocoans, and Chalcans. So he holds the war council in Texcoco, and Cortez, he's like, all right, the next objective here is either the complete destruction of Tenochtitlan or like just make them submit. So like we're going to completely fuck this place up. So
this is the big battle.
This is the big battle. We're gearing it, guys. We're at the end.
We're fucking here, dude.
Their siege begins, man. This is May to early 1520. May to early June 1520. The first thing they do, so one of Tenochtitlan's, they talked about this way early on. I don't know if I mentioned it. It was in the book. All of their fresh water ran from one single aqueduct. And Cortez had learned about it a while back. So he goes, okay. Cortez sent Sandoval with like 100 Spaniards and, several thousand of Tlaxcan allies to march to the springs at Chuetepec and just basically smash the terracotta pipes. Yeah. So they disrupted it, just in one easy move, cut all of the fresh water to Tenochtitlan before even attacking the city. Leaving the city during this entire battle, the city's population was drinking only brackish, salty lake water. Oh. So just recovered from the fucking smallpox. Yeah. Now they can only drink basically like
poison,
super salty water.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Not a great start. The 13 warships floated down the canal into Lake Texcoco amid trumpet fanfares and artillery salutes. This is like, they're just like a hot start. Each brigantine had a bronze cannon. There was 25 soldiers They had the Tlaxan rowers are like, I bet you guys can't fucking row these boats. I bet you guys can't.
Watch us.
Watch us do this. By June 10th, the fleet had destroyed or dispersed virtually all Aztec war canoes, establishing total naval supremacy. And those guys, Cuauhtémoc had like dug little traps and shit, and they were like, yeah, we'll like spike their boats, and like these ships were just too fucking big. So the Aztecs go, all right, fuck, they kind of got us on the water. We're going to remove all the bridges. So they're creating like 10 to 20 foot wide water gaps. They did that at night. And in the morning, they went back and forth. Cortez and Cuauhtémoc, it was like a really boring battle. So at night, Aztecs would remove the bridges. During the day, Cortez would have his guys fill gaps with stones and just kind of like wood under just getting fired at with arrows from the fucking guys. So I think his guys would just give cover fire and let them just work all day. So it was just like during the day, they would advance. They would kind of go as far as they could and just start blasting like arrows and guns into Tenochtitlan. Yeah. The Aztecs would pull up on war canoes and kind of fight them back. And they just kind of went on like this, this was like 75 days long. So they get into July now, just doing this kind of like just, destroying the outer districts of the food. Just they're trying to like anywhere that had markets or food, they were like, we got to kind of disrupt this. So they would like come up with ships and kind of blast them with cannons. Yeah. They would just blast, it's a really boring kind of battle. They had one at the Battle of the Broken Bridges, was 3 days of fighting across like a 200-yard water barrier. During this was kind of brutal. 60 Spaniards were killed, I think, when like a gap in the bridge collapsed. There's also the assault on the Templo Mayor, which is, again, they would like enter, they would rebuild the bridges and then enter the city, fight in the city and come back. At one point, Cortez, I guess his guys are getting bored, being like, dude, we've been doing this for a fucking month. This sucks. Cortez leads an attack on the main temple precinct, and after 3 days of intense gunpowder charges toppled the twin pyramids of Quetzalcoatl and Toluca. So I think he finally killed the hummingbird god of war. He had enough of that shit. But again, it was like he had a Sandoval. All of his forces were split. One guy was going towards like the Tacuba Causeway to hit this place. One guy was going on this place. He was going here. So they're all just like going in and getting fucked up, going in and getting fucked up. It was like nonstop. And they're like, the Spaniards were actually getting hurt pretty bad during this. But finally they're getting closer because there was still one last marketplace holdout where all the, the Aztecs were getting all their food from. Because there was a pretty nasty famine going on this whole time. They had no water. And they were kind of losing food. So they're like, if we get this last market, these guys will just starve and they'll have no choice. So this was their last stand. The Spanish forces they finally converge on the great marketplace, but are kind of repulsed by super heavy losses. A lot of these guys die because they had they're inside of a city. So like the guys would sit on the roof and just drop boulders. Yeah. So you would like be fighting people in the streets and you just get crushed by boulders and there's nothing you could fucking do about it.
I don't even see it coming.
And the Spaniards, all they could do is destroy houses systematically. They'd be going through Philly and starting from fucking like 2nd Street and just destroying every house on the block all the way to West Philly. That was like what they had to do. And it was, the whole time while trying to destroy the houses, they got boulders dropped on their heads. So it was a fucking...
Were they fighting people down there at the same time? Or
the whole time fighting below, getting shit dropped on you, blasting houses with cannons.
I know some guy accidentally dropped a boulder on one of his boys.
It pissed him off. Well, what happened was it just went on for so long. It's fucking summer too. It's hot. No one ever just fucking hot as hell.
In armor.
And Cortez was trying not to. He loved the city of Tenochtitlan. He goes, I don't want to. It's going to be my city. I don't want to knock it all down. This would fucking suck. By August 10th through 12th, Cortez goes, dude, just knock down every fucking place. Fuck this place. I hate it. So they destroy the market. The Aztecs by this point are like starving. They're just like not even fighting anymore. They're just like hiding and kind of surviving and, dropping rocks where they can. Midday, the 13th of August, Cuauhtémoc, his family and principal lords attempt to escape the city. Like Cortez wins. It's over. He's like destroyed basically almost every building in the place. The guys are starving to death. Cuauhtémoc is like, all right, we're out of here. He tries to escape in 50 royal canoes, but he was intercepted by one of the giant warships, Garcia Holguin's brigantine, which it was funny because another guy stepped in being like, yeah, that was my find. And then Cortez stepped over him and was like, yeah, that was my find actually, right? Because they had like military journals, and Cortez was like, that's my credit. Give that to me.
But he really stole it from somebody else.
No, like one of the guys on the ship, the captains were the guys who actually intercepted him, and it was like, hey, write that down in the log that I was the one. And then his superior was like, actually say that I did that. And then Cortez eventually did it. But so they intercept Cuauhtémoc, and Cuauhtémoc surrenders and is taken to Cortez, which is kind of funny because Cortez is like, bro, like, what the fuck, dude? Like, why'd you make me do that? And Cuauhtémoc goes, bro, my dagger's on my side. Fucking stab me, dude. Like, I'm not going to do this shit with you.
Yeah.
I lost. Kill me. Just fucking kill me. And Cortez was like, where's the gold? He's like, tell me where the fucking gold and the treasure is. And they started burning this guy's feet. I think they spent like a day or two, like blistering this guy's feet with like hot embers.
Yeah.
He was just like, fuck you guys. At one point, he was like, he was credited being like, do you think I like this? That was, I think it's one of his final words. He requested death. He's like, guys, give me death. At the end, all said and done, Aztec military and civilian dead between 100,000 and 240,000. Spanish dead in the siege, 100. Damn. But again, there was a massive famine. Like, I didn't really get into how bad the famine. These guys were eating like dirt and lizards.
Yeah.
So like they were fighting this. They actually put up a good fight while with no fresh water and like virtually zero food. Yeah. So and like they had, towards the end of there, it was sad. Like there'd be like starving little kids would pop out behind the rubble, and like they looked like skeletons.
Yeah.
And they were like, damn, the Spaniards didn't really feel great when it ended. They were like, that was really fucked up. A lot of our guys died, and we just like decimated a village full of starving people. The morale,
like you spaz on a whole country and go, ooh.
Yeah, it starts to set in. So because
too far.
Cortez, so the resistance ended. The Tlaxican and other indigenous allies begin just like 3 to 4 days of systematic revenge killings and sacrificed thousands of Aztec prisoners. So there was like it's kind of fucked up because the Spaniards try to hold like a proper war celebration. Like, yeah, we finally won, but they're so fucked up.
Yeah.
But so the Spaniards ended up drinking, getting hammered for like 4 days, like blacking out, again, just like really helping themselves to the local population of women. So they were having like a 4-day drunken rape orgy where they're also probably breaking off with the Tlaxcans and like mass murdering people. The Tlaxcans were eating human beings. They had like burning people alive.
Yeah.
The Spaniards and the indigenous Indian guys had a 4-day party that was maybe the most depraved thing ever. Like they said like just it really kind of fucked them up. Yeah, it was rape, murder, a little bit of cannibalism. Skankfest. Yeah, they literally had Skankfest. They had again flaying of Aztec. There was Tlaxcan nobles wearing skins and victory dances. It was widespread rape and looting by both Spaniards and their allies. Spanish soldiers drunk on pulque and wine for days.
I imagine one of the Tlaxcans pulling up to the after party wearing a skin coat,
dude,
like
pulling up,
dripped out, like feeling dripped out. Dude, and everybody's like, "Oh!"
Pulling up to a mass Spanish rape orgy, wearing someone else's skin, drunk, and being like, "What's up?"
I'm like, "Oh shit, it's here."
Yeah, very, very brutal stuff. So after the 4 days, and it's funny they talk about it in the book. Everyone's kind of just like, that was not the way. We already felt kind of fucked up, and that really didn't help us at all.
Yeah. After the 4-day bender, they're like, ugh.
So they're just chilling. They're chilling. They're like, did I fucking eat a guy? They're like, oh my God.
Fuck.
The mission's over. And the worst part is there's not really any gold to be had. So these guys were completely led into it thinking they're going to become richer than they've ever been. And they just like, there's not much to go around. I mean, eventually he did end up doing a thing where he would promise, just like he got land for his help, you would just give people land where they could then mine their own gold or so you basically like divvied up land and slaves. Kind of, that was the deal. He's like, look, man, like, sorry I don't have any treasure yet, but you can go mine your own resources and, you'll be good. Which I guess was kind of a come up for those guys. But, I'd rather have a treasure chest than have a fucking slave farm in Mexico.
Go back home.
Yeah, I don't want to go home. I have a family. Now I have a slave farm in Mexico. Speaking of families, so we talked about Sweet Catalina. By the time of the party, Malinche had given birth to the first mestizo. Yeah. The first half Spanish, half Mexican guy, to our knowledge.
Wait, Malinche was a guy?
No, Malinche. No, Malinche gave birth. No, he wasn't having sex.
A girl?
Malinche's a girl the whole time.
You thought Malinche was a guy?
Malinche is a 13-year-old Japanese girl.
Damn.
No, Malinche's a girl the whole time.
Yeah.
Cortez has been fucking on Malinche this whole time.
I didn't know.
She was like his bottom bitch.
That's
She was
his
the best.
absolute bottom bitch, dude. She saved his life on multiple occasions.
Yeah.
She was like most of the reason he could even talk and get any of these allies because she could translate.
She spoke like different dialects too, not
Like
just
a bunch of different, a bunch of different languages. So
She was the best.
she had a baby. She had Cortez's baby, and she's over there just kind of fucking nursing. I think the baby's name was Martin. I think he named him after the master shipbuilder, Martin Lopez. So she's nursing little Martin Cortez.
Him and Martin might have been gay.
Martin Cortez?
They might have been gay guys.
Martez? I mean, I kind of imagine Martin as a bit of a sweet boy, like a slick back hair, kind of like, so these ships will be wonderful. So maybe, who knows? But he definitely knocked Malinche up, has a baby, and Catalina Suarez, his wife, rolls up unannounced. Ooh. Dude.
That's crazy.
Rolls up unannounced, I think sees the infant, is going, this motherfucker. Dude, after the big party, they're all chilling in like an Aztec temple or an Aztec like palace. Catalina like starts screaming at Cortez. They go away into Cortez's bedroom. Catalina mysteriously dies that night and was found with a ton of neck bruises. And they said it was an allergic reaction. Cortez choked his fucking wife to death.
Choked her to death.
She came all the way there to the party, and he was like, "What the fuck are you doing here?" And he choked Catalina to death because he didn't want to get married to her. He was forced to marry her. Yeah. And then she came bitching at him about him having a kid with Malinche, and he was just like, "I just took over Mexico," and he choked his wife.
One more
surprising turn.
Yeah.
I mean, but it was after the orgy, dude. He did the fucking nonstop orgy.
That's also the worst day. You're partying, and then all of a sudden, it'd be like us partying in Tokyo, and then all of a sudden, all our babes showed up. Like, how'd you fucking get here?
And you imagine, it'd be like if you partied in Tokyo, and Tokyo was like, "Yo, dude, Tokyo's yours."
Yeah,
You guys rule. And like, wait, I have a baby now. You're like, what the fuck?
Here's the key to the city.
So, and that was his tale. He fucking took Mexico. Cortez also, like, he became famous. He was a famous guy, but he, after Mexico, he from 1530 to 1540s, he spent the next 10 years in a series of failed expeditions. He tried to take Honduras. It was a complete disaster. He explored Lower California and also Algiers. But like, he just like a bunch of guys died. Like Mexico, it was a one-hit wonder. Mexico was like a crazy amount of luck. All these other places, it was a fucking disaster. In 1540s, he returns to Spain seeking recognition, but everyone's kind of like, yeah, dude, you were kind of cool 10 years ago. But he had like washed up ex-quarterback energy.
Yeah.
So like he was like, he actually died kind of broke. He didn't have a lot of money, but he was the man though. Like if he roll up, he will be like the people were like Cortez rules, but he wanted an audience with the royals, and they were like, dude, you're a fucking buccaneer. Like, you're a buccaneer. Thanks for Mexico. But you're a fucking psycho. Get out of here. So he never got the status he was seeking, but he was a legend, dude.
Yeah.
He was a local legend in the pub. So everyone was like, Cortez is the man, but again, his wife.
Drink for free.
Yeah, it's drink for free. Everyone, obviously, you probably could tell the sickest stories. Malinche, this is kind of where are they now? Malinche ended up dying 1529. She died kind of early. She died way before Cortez. Pedro de Alvarado, he conquers Guatemala and El Salvador.
Nice.
Yeah, and he dies 1451 in a war when he got crushed by a rolling horse.
Ooh.
Damn.
Yeah, and then Mexico City was founded in 1522 on the ruins of Tenochtitlan. The lake is gradually drained in 1600 to 1900, and the modern city continues to subside because of the compressible lake bed. I don't know what that even means. That just was in the footnotes. But yeah, that's where we have Mexico City now today, and that is the tale of the conquistador, Hernan Cortez. He killed his wife at the end. I didn't see that. They just glossed over that in the book, and it's like, what? He killed his wife at the end of the party.
Her pulling up like that is so
seeing the kid being nursed. I could see her, and she probably said some. I mean, 1500 Spain. She probably said some like really racist shit to Malinche. And Cortez was like, "Bro, you have no idea what this woman's done for me."
But imagine
I don't even like you.
How surprised he was to see her pull up. Like that had to be like. That can't be fucking her all the way over here.
It's been
following on the heels of a drunken slave orgy.
How long is it? How was it was like 3 years, 2 years, 4 years?
It's a couple years. I think it was like 2. I think the whole thing took about 2.5 years.
She didn't think he was going to get some pussy.
Right? I don't think she didn't know what the fuck. She like thought he was gonna be gone for 2 weeks.
Oh.
So he just dipped, dude. He was supposed to be gone for 2 years. He was supposed to go on a simple errand. And he just took over Mexico. And, became literally the legend. And he again, could have just walked off the field, but he just went on 10 years and just so many people died working for him. Because he probably was like, I'll get you guys glory. And people followed him all over the place. He just got fucked up. Came back to Spain and they were like, bro, get the fuck out of here.
Go home.
He did. He died with, he got a lot of high fives. That's all. He never got a lot of money. And he died kind of penniless and, but he was a legend.
More
so
like
high fives are nice though.
High fives are sick, dude. Sitting in the bar and just telling nonstop stories. He probably, that was the book. Imagine his own tale, his own version was probably crazy. So that's it. We did it, guys. Hey, cheers, dude. One last time. We've completed. That's the new tradition. When we complete the tale, it's just nothing but a cheers. Bye.